Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a very special video, because today I'm going to be interviewing Daniel Madison. It isn't really an interview, it's just more of an opportunity to get to know him better, and so I'm rather excited for it. I'm also quite nervous, but I'm going to open up my laptop right now and get up Skype and call Daniel Madison. Okay, here we are. Where is it? Why is it not working? Why can technology be so frustrating sometimes? It's just completely frozen. The whole laptop is just completely frozen. Oh my god. This isn't good. This is not good. I'm trying to think, like, how can I do the interview when the laptop isn't working? And I guess there is one way I could do the interview. Yeah, I think that'd work. I've got an idea, actually. I'll just sit down. Madison, what's the best brand of sausages?
I'm actually working on a brand at the minute that's probably going to be the best, but can't really talk about it yet. But like, as for now, anything Irish recipe and anything frozen, like that, I think frozen always tastes good for sure. Because when you freeze it, it retains that flavour that was made like in the moment. Because when they make a sausage, and then it goes to like the butchers or it goes on the shelf wherever, if it's not frozen, the whole time it's there, it's kind of losing a little bit of quality, whereas when they make it to freeze, they freeze it there and then it keeps it that freshness.
So Benji, this is an interesting one. Benji said, well, keep up the awesome work on the videos. He's
Thanks,
also
Benji.
said, what is your thought process when creating tricks?
It's different every single time, and it depends on the trick. It depends on what you want to achieve. I think that's a good starting point, is figuring out what you want to achieve, and that kind of determines what kind of trick you're gonna end up with. But I don't think any magician or anybody who creates magic sets out to create a trick. I don't think that you sit down and go, right, I'm gonna create a trick today. I don't think it works like that. I think, for me, it comes from a place of experimenting with what can be done with playing cards. That's my number one fascination. What are the possibilities? What can we do with a deck of playing cards? And then you take that to what can you do with a deck of playing cards in front of somebody without them seeing. And it's this whole process of what are my abilities with this thing.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of look at what sleights you can do, what you're comfortable with, what you're able to perform. And it has to kind of work around that, because if you don't have an arsenal of sleights, if you don't have a collection of sleights that can help you achieve all these different things, then you can't really even start magic. You know, you can't think about creating a trick.
Well, it's like you need to be able to play notes to play music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So your sleights, like, we could teach somebody who doesn't know magic, right? We can bring them here, we can teach them a trick, and they can go perform it.
Yeah.
But all they will know how to do is how to stay between those lines. And if that participant does something to take them out of them lines, they will freak out, and it'll be the end of the trick. Because they don't have the collection of sleights that will help them when it goes either way. So, and even for me, like, even though I create tricks and offer tricks, it's all from experiences that I've kind of almost created themselves. Because when I perform, it usually always begins with name a playing card, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Never know what I'm going to do. I know that I've got an important tool in my pocket that will help, called the advocate, and I know I've got a deck of playing cards. It's usually in order, which they don't know that. You know, a few false shuffles and whatnot. So I've got all these starting points, but because I know my performance style and I know what I want to achieve, which is entertain that participant, I will then judge that moment based on that person, based on which card they name, and I'll use whichever slice will get me there. That being said, I might have an idea that I want to practice my card to pocket, so you can go in there knowing that I'm going to do that, but I'll still do it in the same way, like name a playing card, and it'll eventually lead to card to pocket. So when it comes to creating those moments, it's very organic, very organic. I don't think any magician has sat down and wrote a trick. No. I think it happens by going out and doing things and thinking, oh, actually I could have done this, or this could be achieved in this situation. Or it starts from a place of, you have this wild idea, and then how can I achieve it, you know? So I don't, the idea of creating a trick is so different depending on each trick, depending on what you want to achieve. But for anybody looking at creating tricks, it has to start from a place of experience with the same goal in mind, which is entertain your audience.
Yeah.
You know, as long as that's your goal, then the rest of it is kind of up to what you want to achieve with the deck playing cards. Long answer to a short question.
No, this is one of my own questions. What has been something that sticks in your mind as one of the worst performance experiences you've had?
That I've had?
Yeah.
Or there's too many to pick from. There's too many, because that's where you learn the most.
Yeah.
From performing bad and figuring out what you can do and what you can't do. I mean, imagine the joys of getting away with a drop cop, right? It's rewarding for you when you do it. But imagine how painful it is when you fail. The embarrassment, like somebody seeing that card drop and catching you out and going, "What the hell?" What?
Yeah,
you know, and having to explain, you know, the embarrassment of it, but the amount of things you learn from it. Especially like in my younger days, if you're not afraid of failing, then you're gonna learn so much. I do have one funny story. I went for a brief moment when I tried to kind of take my career into kind of gambling and card cheating.
Yeah.
I had this old TV show in the works, and I started doing gigs that were just card cheating and gambling. I did this whole room, 40 minutes at a card table, card cheating demonstrations, and then it was golf claps, you know, the whole time. It was like, yeah, well done. And then afterwards, when I was packing everything away, this kid, because it was like a party thing, this kid was blowing up a balloon or messing around with balloons, and Pressure had just been released by Danny Garcia, Phone-in Balloon.
Yeah.
So I did it, took it off him and did it, and I didn't know that everybody's watching. And when they saw that, they freaked out, and the reactions were incredible. And I learned so much that, and back to that same line, your purpose is to entertain, you know. I mean, from the card cheating thing, that was all so selfish, because it's something I wanted to do, not necessarily caring about the audience, whereas the audience just wants to be entertained. So if you put card cheating next to a phone in a balloon, you know, which one's the most entertaining?
Yeah, exactly.
So I even though it's not necessarily a failure or a mess up, I do consider that a bit of a failure in my decisions to have chosen card cheating over entertainment. You know.
But again, grew from it. So is it a bad experience?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, as for bad experiences, anybody listening, it's not something to fear. It's your biggest teacher. It really is. For any performer, in fact, in any art, you know. Yeah. Learn the most from your failures.
Do you have any non-magician magical influences? People that influence you in the way that you create magic, or the way that you create whatever it is, if it's a video or whatever? You are magicians.
Yeah, I have very few influences in the magic world. Almost all of my influences are non-magic, outside of the magic world. Because I've never considered myself a magician. Never went into it thinking I'm a magician, and even to this point, I call myself a magician because that's the best descriptive word for what I'm doing. But I've never really thought of myself as that, and I've never really looked up to magicians, or never had people who have been huge influences on me in magic. Like some peer, I certainly have peers who have been really helpful, and Blaine, Michael Webber, Ricky J. There's a few big names who had a huge impact on me, but I take my influences from different places because I don't see it as magic, I guess. I kind of feel like an outsider of magic who happens to be in the magic world, so my influences don't come from this world. Usually film actors, performers of any kind. I take a lot from performers. Music, a lot of music. And I think I'm usually guided and led by the idea of expressing whatever it is I'm doing. I describe it as art. I don't know if it is, and it's not my place to decide if it's art or not. But I see in others, actors and people I look up to, something that I kind of hope other people see in me, and I try and just bring that into the magic world. But as for influences, I don't really have any in the magic world, so
Where do you see yourself 10 years down the line?
Dead and buried. If I'm still alive in 10 years' time, I would say I think I'm on the right path. I know what my purpose is: to teach, share, and try and advance and help people who are doing what I'm doing, and help them make the right decisions, go in the right direction. Because the end goal, all these people are contributing to the art of magic, and if I'm playing a part in that world, which I found myself in, then I've taken on the responsibility to be somebody who might have some kind of influence on what the future looks like of it. So I kind of take that responsibility on, and 10 years from now, I think it's just going to be the same person, the teacher, the guide of sorts, sharing the knowledge and trying to influence people to perform correctly, whatever that means,
Yeah.
But yeah, teaching, still teaching. That's my purpose.
This is a few questions in one, but it's sort of centered around goals. So, do you set goals? Did you set sales goals for Madison playing cards? Do you have subscriber goals, that sort of thing? Like, are goals a good thing in a way?
I think they're a good thing. They're a good thing for your spirit, your person. It's good to set yourself goals. I don't know if I ever call them goals. I like the idea of a challenge more than a goal. So, and I'm just picturing a goal being, let's say I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. That's like a goal. Whereas the challenge for me is just to keep my audience happy. So I don't really look at it as an ambition in the style of a goal, but certainly challenge. I think if more people paid attention to challenging themselves than trying to get a certain number, or I mean when you think about it, it all comes down to numbers. Even the idea of sales, like playing cards. I've made playing cards from a very selfish place, just so that I could have my own playing cards.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I ended up giving playing cards to the world. So in terms of sales goals for that, not a single goal in mind. I'm not driven by money or numbers, as long as I have a deck of playing cards in my hands, as long as my bills are paid.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm spending my time well, that's all that matters,
Yeah.
So yeah, if people changed goals to challenges, I think they'd be better off.
So hate comments, do they affect you? Are they motivational or do they put you off?
They're very motivational, very motivational. If you don't have any haters, you're not doing well. You're doing something wrong. Right from the beginning of my career, I instantly polarized my audience. I had a group of people who hated me. You either hated me or you loved me. And I say me, but I feel like I'm not even talking about myself, because it's always been a character that I've played. And that's certainly helped when it comes to criticism. Because in a way, it allowed me to see hateful comments and think, oh, they're not talking about me, they're talking about Daniel Madison, the character.
Yeah.
So it allowed me this a little escape thing, but that eventually feels like a cop out, and it feels like you can get away with anything if you live like that.
Yeah.
So it's unhealthy, I think, to look for praise or look for hate. Like if you avoid hate and only look for praise, it's really unhealthy. But the other way around, I try not to take in any praise or any hate. I'm very accepting that every single person's got their own opinion, of course.
Yeah.
Everyone's allowed to think and say whatever they like, and if I'm willing to put myself on the internet with...
You're opening yourself up to it.
Yeah, and if I'm going to express myself somehow, then I'm kind of asking to be judged in a way. It's like I'm showing you something on your screen. I'm deciding that this is my theatre. The digital screen is my theatre, so you have every right to comment however you like. And a lot of hate in general comes from a place within somebody. They have to have hate in them to begin with, to be able to express it the way that some people do. So when you see it, it's almost like not real, because it's a reflection of the person who said it, rather than they can say the most horrible things about me, but I know it's not about me. I know it's coming from a place this in them. And also, you know, I've had the opportunity to, you know, see face to face some people who have shown me a lot of hate, and you know, they were lovely, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not really even real, you know. But it's definitely unhealthy to pay it a lot of attention. But I wouldn't say ignore it, because you can ignore it and like never look and think I'm safe. No one's saying anything bad.
Yeah.
As long as you're accepting that if you're going to put yourself online, it's part of the job, really, you know, to accept it. But I always say to anybody who's confronted with that, it's just the way it is. It's just a part of it, you know. And if no one hates you, then you're doing something wrong, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any things that you want to work on in the future that at the moment just seem unclear to you?
Not really, no. And it's quite a simple idea that I live like one day at a time. Like I don't plan ahead necessarily, you know. I've got like a short-term idea of what I want to do. It's like I know what path I'm on. Do you know what I mean? Like I've chosen the path, so it kind of, I know where it's going to lead, so I don't really plan for what's coming. I just know where it's going, and that's good enough for me. So especially with the type of expressionalism that I'm on at the minute, which is kind of YouTube and sharing magic and having fun with it, it's kind of just a day-by-day thing, you know. And as long as I'm like expressing somehow, I'm happy. So I always think if I can do this again tomorrow, then I'm happy, let alone next year or 10 years. And I think it's quite healthy, spiritually and mentally healthy to not plan too far ahead. You kind of learn not to take life for granted if you live like that, you know, not take anything for granted for that matter, you know.
This is a question that a few people have commented, which is, will you always teach card magic on YouTube, or will you teach other genres and styles of magic?
It's probably going to be cards mainly. Yeah. It's because that's my world, really. That's kind of where I am, you know. I've played a lot in mentalism, quite a lot, like behind the scenes, in a way that it wouldn't affect, you know, my work as a card person. If people started like associating me with mentalism, it's confusing and it gets convoluted. You know, the idea of, Andy Nyman said this to me. He said, you got to decide what you are and stick to it, because a business card that says, oh yeah, Danny Madison, magician, you know, balloon modeler, hypnotist, and all these different things, it's quite confusing to the audience what you're going to be providing and who you are. Like, there's identities kind of on the line in a way. So to not want to mix that up and convolute it, I've always stuck to the one thing, and I still don't know what that is, by the way. Yeah. Because I don't like calling myself a magician. A lot of people use words like gambler, card cheat. I've never really considered myself anything like that. I just like playing the cards. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think for me to be teaching other things, it would be a little bit hypocritical, because I've not got the proof there to, you know what I mean, to show that I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Even though I've played in that world quite a lot. I do love mentalism, mind reading, that whole world, but certainly not as a performer, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's like with musicians. Musicians tend to stick to one instrument. So then if someone came along and was playing all the instruments, maybe they wouldn't be taken as seriously. So do you think it's better if magicians stick to one style of magic?
I think so. I do think so. I don't think there's anything wrong with variety, not whatsoever. I don't think there is nothing wrong with it at all. It's like, you know, jack of all trades, master of one. I like to put all that energy and effort into one thing, and I think it's wise for others to do that too. Because if your energy and your learning time as somebody learning to perform is divided in all these different ways, then it's going to be diluted a little bit. You know, it's not going to be as strong as it would be if it's all put into one thing. Like, I put my life into cards, like, and I like to think it shows. Like, you can see that when I demonstrate something with cards, that I've put that time in. Whereas maybe somebody who splits their time between cards, hypnosis, and everything else, maybe you can see, I think you can identify that, you know, especially on this side as somebody in the world. but that's just me. I'm not against it. Variety is a good thing, but I think for somebody to be taken 100% serious, I think it's wise to stick to one thing. You know, that's at least that's what I've done. You know. Yeah.
So someone else commented, and sort of going along that sort of line of like splitting your time between different things, taking it in a slightly different direction, more towards real life. Someone asked, they want to get really good at magic. They're already sort of a hobbyist. They want to start it as a career, but they've got family, they've got life. You know, they've got a whole sort of other life. So how much time does someone dedicate to magic?
Yeah, that's a tricky question, and any magician.
I guess it depends on the person. It's a hard thing to answer.
It does, but I like to think most magicians who have taken it seriously will have been confronted with that situation.
Yeah.
I think they will. I've been there, and it's very difficult for the other people in your life who are closest to you to accept and to embrace what you're deciding to do. It's like you go to your family one day and say, right, going to be a magician. You know, that they might not take you seriously, but you know, it's easy to not have faith in someone who's getting into a world of creativity or performance, because you know the image of the struggling artist, it comes from a real place, because it is true. Art is you struggle when you try and make a living at art. So for somebody trying to make a living at it, trying to make it their job, it's the most difficult challenge. It really is. So you got to really appreciate why family members might not be too happy when you tell them, or when, you know, from experience, when I made that decision, I was a full-time stockbroker, really good career ahead of me, really well-paid job. And so going from that to going to be a magician, so packing it in, quitting, for the people around me, that was like a huge impact. And people were like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
You're absolutely crazy. And everybody around me told me it was a bad idea, everybody.
Yeah.
But if you've got that level of faith in yourself, and it's something that you just feel like, I just felt it. It was something, it's hard to kind of even describe what it felt like or what it was, but I just knew. Just that one time, I just knew, you know.
Yeah.
So I think people listening to this might recognize what I'm saying and might think, yeah, I've got that feeling too, you know, and something you just got to go for. But yeah, like most arts, like most creative avenues, you can't, what's that saying now? You can't be a little bit pregnant. You know, you're either pregnant or you're not.
Yeah.
So you've got to be all in. You can't just, like a hobbyist, it's fine being a hobbyist, but if you want to be a professional, I believe it's got to be full time.
Yeah.
It's got to be 100%. And the time thing, splitting family with, you know, family time, magic time, doesn't really exist, because this is 24/7, because it's always there.
Yeah.
And it's always there. You don't just turn it off, you know. And that's hard for the people close to you to accept.
Yeah.
You know.
This is a funny one, and I'm not sure what the answer will be, but do you still enjoy card games with no cheating element, just card games?
Nah, you can't play them from my position, like, especially with people that I know. You know, it's like, what was that show now? It was a TV show, and he said, when I play poker, they don't call it poker. And it's like, when you know how to cheat at cards, you can't play a fair game.
Yeah.
You can't do it, like, because you'll be in a position where you've got, like, back to the arsenal of tricks, you've got a whole catalogue of ideas and things that you're capable of. When someone deals you hands and you're in a position to do something, you'll do something, you know, or it'll be on your mind, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And then let alone finding somebody who'll play with you, you know, who you know. But yeah, I've stayed away from games. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I stopped the whole idea of card cheating or teaching that primarily, because it's a little bit hypocritical of me to be teaching that when I wasn't doing it anymore, you know, when I wasn't at card tables anymore.
Yeah.
Because poker and that world looks so different now compared to when I started, you know.
Yeah.
It's a different world. So, yeah.
So when was the last time you ever sort of with friends, or did you ever
Yeah,
play cards?
I used to get booked. Instead of like being a magician, I'd turn up with the poker routine and
As the dealer.
as the card cheat and as the dealer, like the croupier, the crooked dealer, and all that. So that's probably the last time that I can remember when they kind of, it was more of a demonstration.
Yeah, yeah.
Before that, I think it was like a real game situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So moving back to YouTube, does not uploading worry you? Do you worry about losing the audience, losing relevance on YouTube?
Not really, no.
No.
No, I don't worry about it. At this moment in time, I've had quite a big break because I was on a roll and I found this really nice path, this nice kind of format of this workflow, the funny videos, sharing the good stuff that I've looked forward to sharing for so long, along with some comedy, and getting to like maybe 3 videos a week. And I've had such a massive break from that, and it feels really nice. It feels good, and I know that the people that I'm meant to reach and the people who care the most, they're going to be there regardless.
Yeah, they'll come back.
And the new people that come along, you know, they say that like YouTube videos and they have like a shelf life, you know, once it's up and watched, it's gone, it'll never be watched again. I think when you're teaching magic and teaching card tricks and stuff, it becomes more of a library than something that vanishes.
Yeah.
Because people can come at my channel and watch back, you know, watch the whole history and still learn new things.
Especially with the performances that you're going to be doing.
They'll
go, I
exactly, yeah.
want to learn that, and they'll go back and study it. So again, it is like you say, like a library. You've sort of got this shelf now of videos sort of teaching.
If I found myself worrying about not uploading, then I'd question where that came from rather than rushing to upload something, because I'm not doing it for that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with the way it works, however it works, as long as I keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
So talking a little bit about teaching magic, 52 has been your last magic book. I
Yes.
say that, but is that definite? Is that absolutely?
Yes.
That is it.
Final book.
So, to those that don't know, why is that going to be your last?
There's quite a few different reasons. The main reason is, with me putting everything on film now, especially for YouTube, and sharing that way, if you compare a lesson of a card sleight on film next to the written word with a few pictures, it's very easy for that person reading to misunderstand, misinterpret, do it wrong. And there's so many things that can be missed from that book that can be taught in film. So if you see it step by step working and you can follow along, that's surely 100 times better than reading it and then trying to figure it out and then reading it. I know there's a lot of people who will argue against that, but from experience I've found that there's hardly any comparison. Like, film wins completely.
Picture's worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth even more.
My career, like a big part of it was writing lecture notes and selling books, and then slowly videos coming and taking over. But while it took over, I found myself still writing books. There's still an audience there of people who want to read and people who want to own a book. But for me, my future, I see it all on film. I see it all demonstrations rather than words. So I guess that's like the main drive, the main reason for it, and the time it takes to write a book, the effort that goes into that. I would now, at this point, I'm very fortunate to have had like a quite a long career at my age, and the amount of publications I have. I'm quite I'm quite proud of it, and I do feel quite lucky that I've been able to do that. So the time I've got now from this point, I'd sooner put that time into filming it and actually demonstrating how it's done. Because there's no better way than learning. The best way to learn is person to person, me sat there with you. The closest you can get to that is on film, and I can get a camera as close as I can to the cameras, and so I just think it's the best way to teach, the best way to learn magic.
Do you look back fondly on past publications, magic books and things like that, or are there some that you
For the most part,
are there any that you think were not done in the way that you wanted, and then looking back you're like, oh, I should have done this differently?
Many. when I started working for Illusionists, I had a fantastic 5 years there, really good 5 years, but it certainly was a business. It was a business, and that caused me a lot of mental challenges towards the end, that kind of building up that I wasn't necessarily aware of at the time. But the business side of it, you can't really make a business out of an art, right?
Yeah.
So the people in that business they were businessmen, right? And they were artists, that's unfair to say, but the business part of their brain seemed to take over that art or the expressional side of their brain.
Yeah.
And that's fair because it's a business. But working with a team like that, it wasn't my final say, not a single time. So having that freedom or the final say over my own creations taken away and used in different ways or redirected, I've got a lot of memories that you wouldn't even know. You might look at some of the stuff that I'm thinking about and think, oh wow, that was really good, but in my mind it should have been so different because it's different. It turned out different to how it started because of either a political thing or because it wouldn't create sales or for reasons like that. And I think for the most part we did do our best to not allow tricks and creations to be interrupted or interfered with or ruined. But business being business, it still happened, not necessarily intentionally, most of the time from other influences. But when you're creating and you're working like that as a business, you have to be accepting of the other person's opinion.
Yeah.
It's kind of a team effort. So there's a lot of things I look back on and think, not with regret. I don't look back with regret, but I certainly see a lot of things and think it should have been different.
Yeah. Are you then going to revisit those things for YouTube?
Definitely, yeah.
Or the lines?
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely, yeah. I've got a lot of things that I put time into and shared that I should have put a lot more time into.
Yeah.
And now I think I've got a new opportunity to do that and share it with like a new audience.
So about that, this is more of a technical question, I guess. But when you create a trick and it's released with a company,
Yep.
do you then have the right to, if you wanted to, teach that on YouTube?
I think like legally from the date of creating something, there's like a 5-year life.
Yeah.
So after 5 years, it kind of comes back to being yours, but you can't own an idea. You can't copyright an idea. So I could teach double lift, for example. I teach my double lift, and it's their product. They own that footage, but they don't own the double lift.
Yeah.
So ethically, you'd wait the 5 years, but morally, you wouldn't have to, Yeah. So when it comes to gimmicks and devices and gaffs and things like that, that's different because it's like a physical thing that can be owned. But ideas, you can't pin them down, so you can't own them.
Exactly, yeah. And that's a big thing at the moment in the magic world, and it happens every month or two. Some magicians will be arguing about who owns what effect.
Yeah.
And you've been involved in that as well.
Oh yeah.
One that springs to mind is Jay Sankey and the corner.
Yeah.
Sort of the battle of the corners. And,
the corn torner. I kept calling it the corn torner instead of the torn corner.
So what happened there? Sort of what was that?
It's kind of,
why were people annoyed at you? Because I know people were.
I think people were annoyed on both sides. But what's funny is, so I think Jay Sankey released the trick, the torn corner, 2008, right?
Yeah.
So published 2008, and the first time I published it was 2006. So just put that aside for now. Back when I first did it and started demonstrating and showing it, and I had interactions with Jay Sankey, and he's like, by the way, I also thought of that too. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Nothing happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then over time, I popularized it, and people associated with it with me, and then, but for some reason it came back up again, and Jay Sankey decided that at that point he wanted to claim it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why he thought that or why that happened. And it wasn't a problem, and it isn't a problem really. You know, it's just one of those things. We were both happy. I was accepting that he thought of it too, you know, because he did. And then it was recently that he realized, I think he realized that he published it actually a lot sooner than he realized when he confronted me the first time.
Yeah.
And then there's like the proof was there, so it's like, okay, cool, it's obviously it's yours now, you know.
Yeah.
Stuff like that happens. Nothing new under the sun in sleight of hand or with magic. And you know, not great minds think alike, but when you've got a deck of playing cards and you try and think of all the things that can be done with a deck of playing cards, like let's say you do that and you spend 20 years doing that, somebody on the other side of the world does the same thing 20 years.
Yeah.
You're going to come up with similar things.
Yeah.
You're going to come up with, sometimes they're going to be the same. So it's no surprise that it happens over and over again in the magic industry. No surprise whatsoever. What surprises me the most about that is the way that people deal with it and the way that people confront it. And sometimes, shockingly, it's the person who doesn't realize they were in the wrong after being told they're in the wrong, taking it badly, not taking it, you know, the way they should. You see it happen a lot, and a lot of problems are caused. If we can all agree as creators, as magicians, that we're all trying to achieve the same thing, we all want the best effects, we all want magic to be seen as an art, we all want it to progress in the same direction, then it doesn't matter if you come up with the same thing that I did. Let's agree that it's a good idea, and we've given it to the world. Jay gave it out to the world, I shared it with people. It doesn't matter whose it is. You know, when somebody gets the trick and learns it and then goes out and performs it, they don't go, oh, by the way, this was Jay Sankey's trick. You can find him at jsankey.com. You know what I mean? We're not here to take credit for it. And it's like when I teach things on YouTube, I always say, if you're going to perform this online, I'd love to see it. Because in one way, I want to be able to guide you if you're doing it wrong or if something's going on. But it was really rewarding seeing someone doing my stuff. But do not tag me. Don't tag me, because your audience, Suzan Sausage might be watching, and she goes, oh wow, that's incredible. Who's this guy he's tagged? Daniel Madison. Clicks. All of a sudden she's found a method, and it ruins, you know. So credit and all that, you find all those problems come from people who want the credit, you know. So I find it's as simple as that.
But if two people come up with something separately, it's sort of both of theirs.
Yeah, and that happens, and a lot of people can't just let it lie. They can't accept that people think alike. It's got to be a fight. It's got to be a battle. Like, who came first? Whose is it? Who's it belong to? You know, it doesn't really matter. You know, at the end of the day. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I get on with Jay Sankey, by the way. You know, yeah, I love that guy.
Is there a magician that no one really knows that you wish laymen were aware of, or magicians were aware of? Is there someone
there's quite
underground that you're like,
there's quite a lot.
Should know?
There's quite a lot, actually. Yeah, there's quite a lot, and I found myself reaching out to a lot of people to almost like arrogantly offer help, or just to kind of offer a little bit of help and advice. But I'm working with a lot of people at the minute. My patron at the Alliance, a lot of names that are going to be known at some point, and I wouldn't even name them at this point because it's an organic journey, it's a natural journey. I'm trying to kind of give people guidance the best I can, and I think a lot of them are going to find the right path, and they're going to be seen and found. But you know, the best magician in the world or in history, I don't think he's been found or discovered yet. I think we'll see him soon. So I think it's important for us all to be on the lookout and appreciate other magicians and try and see what their goal is and see what they're trying to do from kind of a positive, beneficial kind of way. Because it's easy for magicians to look at other magicians and just trash talk and see what's wrong with them. Very rarely do you find somebody looking at magicians to try and appreciate them and respect them and see what they're trying to achieve. So I try and see what people are trying to achieve, and if I can help them, I try to. So I know a lot of names at the minute that I think will become
Yeah.
name people, but I won't name them now.
Do you think it's good that some people stay underground? That
Yes,
some
absolutely,
magicians
yeah,
just
yeah.
remain purely behind the curtain?
Absolutely, yeah. My favourite people have been underground, still are underground.
And they have no intention of...
Yeah, no intention at
yeah.
all. With like one of the best card handlers in the world, a guy I know from Paris, and you'll never know who he is because he doesn't want anybody to know. And it's a nice thing when you think about it. You know, he's doing it for his own benefit.
Yeah.
My late friend Chris Stanislas, you know, he's not with us anymore. It would have been his 26th birthday 3 days ago, and although we published a book together, he was very keen on staying on the ground with what he could do, and he showed me a ton of stuff that would just fry people, that would just be so good for people to learn, but he chose to keep that stuff to himself and on the ground, and you have to kind of respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think especially in the days now with, you know, social media and everything, everyone's after fame. Seems like, you know, everyone's hunting, trying to get the numbers bigger and all of that. So,
but I don't
it's
think
good that there's still those people. That want to be underground.
I don't think we can be fooled that easy. I think we recognise it when we see it. You know, most people are blatant about it when they're trying to get followers and subscribers and whatnot. You know, they're screaming and shouting about it. So we can't be fooled. Even people who try it subtly, I think we can recognise something in them that doesn't kind of, you know, in our gut we don't feel it, or we feel off about somebody. And you can see when someone's genuinely trying to achieve something, and they don't necessarily care about numbers or following. Obviously, numbers, following, subscribers, it's important. Because everybody doing this, everybody doing what we do, they need an audience, and their ambition is to entertain, so they deserve an audience. But I think they can definitely, you can tell them apart. You can kind of get an instinctive feeling what they're in it for.
Yeah.
Most of them are just on screen going, "Oh, please subscribe, make sure you share," you know, all that.
Yeah.
You know, I switch off when I hear that, you know.
Yeah.
The word subscribe sometimes makes me switch off, you know, when you hear somebody say it, but I get why it's important, and I appreciate why people, you know, do that and have to do that.
Do you think magic only exists with an audience? Do you think without an audience there's no such thing as the performance, or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a really interesting question. It's a really interesting question, because if there's a performance, is it a performance if there's no audience to see it? I think the answer is yes. Like, I can perform, like you can perform something on your own, in your own space. It could be a meditative thing. It could be a spiritual thing. Nonetheless, it's a performance.
Yeah.
You know, magic in terms of it being like just a physical thing that's in your hand, a real thing. You can't really show yourself a trick, you know. So in that sense, it's not. I guess it's not real from when it's coming from you as a performer, but it's all about your interpretation of what magic is, and you might experience magic without an audience that you might consider to be a real thing. But I think it deserves an audience, and I think that's what its purpose is to try and make somebody feel something, or think something, or confront their reality, even if it's just one person, you know. I think it deserves an audience. I think that's the best way that I think I can answer that.
So Will Wetherington has said, please can you go into a little detail on one of your tattoos?
Let's take your pick. I'm not sure what I'd talk about. I think the most meaningful ones I think are known. Like I would lean straight towards a 9 of Clubs tattoo, because that's become something like massive.
Yeah.
But I wonder if I can tell a story about one of them. I mean, I've got a few on the arm that are quite meaningful. And by the way, I don't get tattoos unless they mean something, and I think that's the same for most people. I did try and have a balance of, you know, like the stereotypical love-hate tattoos.
Yeah.
So the Vita Mors is kind of my take on that, life, death. So it's kind of positive, negative, a balance of each. I tried to keep like positive, all the life stuff on this side. all the kind of death, mortality stuff on the side. But that balance kind of got lost somewhere along the way when it started to become a little bit more about design. But anything that I'm going through, any kind of challenges that I've had, I try and put it into a tattoo, kind of lead it into a tattoo. Like this is from the Bible, P581, and that's to do with my coming away from addiction, and that led to the word abstain as well. So there's a reminder right there to abstain, and that's like a really, I find when I'm thinking about the reason why I got them, it's very challenging because most of them are like tough times or confrontational times, and I think that should be where, this is me personally, I think that's where tattoos should come from.
Yeah.
I don't think you should get a meaningless tattoo unless it's for the sake of being meaningless, you know, like a tattoo that says tattoo, for example, like a very meta kind of thing. But yeah, I'm not sure which one I'd lean to other than the 9. But the life one's quite interesting. Toby shares the life one. This is from Sage Francis, and Rob made the F slightly lighter, so its life is just a lie with an F in it, and death is definite. So I was always a big fan of that.
Do you know how many you have? Or have you lost count?
I lost count when they kind of all became one at some point. Do you know what I mean? I've got quite a few shared tattoos, and I'm a fan of those. Like that's shared with Chris Ramsey, same again on here, because we used to share drinks. He would have it there, and the joke. It's not really a joke, but we'd never ask what we want from the bar. We'd always just say same again.
Yeah.
So he can see his there when he's got a drink, and then I can see mine there when I've had the drink. You know. That was the most painful tattoo.
Yeah.
And it's just a little one, just the word you. Got you in the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
And I did it myself, and it hurt. And then I showed it to Rob, and it was falling out. And he says, "You didn't go in deep enough." So when he did it, he did this one line, and I'm like, "Stop, can't do it." But that was the most painful tattoo I've ever experienced.
With the sort of normal, I say the normal, the less painful than palm of the hand ones, is it still painful, or is it?
Usually find it depends where it is on the body. Like the arm, not too bad. Kyle's just had one put on his arm, and he said he couldn't really feel it. I remember that experience. Like this is fresh. This is like 2 weeks old. That's K for Kanye West. It's been a huge influence on my life, and that was no memory of pain from that. Whereas there's you got a lot of nerves in your hands, so that felt pretty bad. But then you'd expect these to feel bad, but they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, that was painful. Yeah, but you know, you're having a needle stuck in your skin. It's gonna be some pain that comes with it.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, where did the idea of tattoos come from? Obviously, it's something that you've had for.
I always
years.
knew that I'd look like this, like not the way my body shape and all that, but I always knew that I'd be, my body would tell a story of my life in a way. In my early days, I was demonstrating some card tuning stuff in a video, and I didn't show my face. Somebody took the video and told everybody it was them, because it's just hands and cards, and they put this idea in my mind that I need to be recognizable for body or my image style. So I had a negative experience had a huge influence on my style, but now I'm at a point where I can be recognized by one finger. So I could make that same video and you could tell it was me.
Yeah.
So it came from a strange place, but yeah.
Yeah, that's something that not many people can
Yeah.
say.
It's such a common question. Everybody wants me to explain them all, but as you can see, it's taken me a while to kind of think about the story itself. I've definitely got it in mind to make videos, explaining them at the time, in their own time, give them a lot more time. But they're all deeply meaningful kind of parts of my story. Something might happen this week that makes me go, I need to do something about that. I need to mark it somehow, and you never know what's coming. So I still don't know what's going to be put on me. Saying that, my next tattoo, which Rob was going to do it yesterday, is going to be this Ace of Hearts on the back of my neck, and it says, "Love is watching someone die, and watching someone die is hard." And it's just such a powerful playing card. Just a powerful, beautiful message that everybody can relate to or understand or just appreciate in some way, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've wanted that for some time and looking forward to getting it. But I'm getting it on the back of my neck, and it'll be the first time above my shoulder, so it's quite a special moment when that happens.
Wow.
Quite nervous about that, to be honest.
Yeah. Would you ever go for face tattoos?
I wouldn't say no to it, but I've just not been led there organically yet.
Yeah.
You know, maybe
Has it
once
sort of
I've
been like a geographical progression, or is it
Yeah,
just sort of if you have an idea?
started with this arm, and I always wanted this separation, this kind of nice separation between them. I never planned to fill anything in, you know, the negative space, the way they're spaced is taken. It took me and Rob a lot of time to kind of design piece by piece, but it now looks like kind of what it should look like. There's still some room here, but I'm kind of waiting for them tattoos to reveal themselves to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But one problem with my tattoos is I can see them all. So I don't have tattoos where I wouldn't be able to see them myself. So on the back of my neck, it's the first time that's going to happen, and it freaked me out. The idea that my eyes will never see this, and it freaked me out thinking about it. I had to stop thinking. But like that neck tattoo, that might then lead to one here, and then one here, and one, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not happened yet.
Yeah.
It's not happened yet. I'm all about expressionalism, and if the time comes and the right message comes, then I'm all for it. And nobody would put a tattoo on their face if it didn't have some kind of deep meaning to them. So I'm always fascinated when I see it, you know.
Yeah.
Always keen
So
to
it
learn.
might, one day, it might.
Yeah, never say no. Yeah, never say never.
So which comes first, sort of the idea of the tattoo, or does it stem from a meaning and then you go, I can translate that meaning into an image?
Yeah,
Or does it even start with, there's an empty space, and then later on it's like, oh, that.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of empty space. You know, there's a lot of like I've got space there, so I'm aware that I'm gonna fill it. But
is that strange, sort of looking at it and going, one day there'll be something there and I don't know what it is yet?
It's strange. Yeah, it's strange to see it. And it was Kat Von D who said your tattoos are already there. You've just got to bring them out. And I like that way of thinking about it. But I see them all as experiences. So the empty spaces are experiences that are gonna happen, and I don't know what they are yet. So when they do, the idea will come then, and I'll say, I need to put that on I need to make that part of my story. So, you know, I don't really plan them. They just kind of turn up, and I turn them into a tattoo. You know.
Are there some that you've thought about for a long time and never? Are there any that haven't happened, basically?
Oh yeah, plenty. Yeah. I've seen so many things that I thought, oh, that'd make a good tattoo. That'd make a really good tattoo. But if it doesn't have any meaning or any kind of sentiment, it's never going to happen. You know.
Is it sometimes last minute, just sort of like, that's not?
A lot of the times I'll just turn up to Rob and I'm like, this happened. I want to put it on my skin. Either how would you do it? What would you do? Or here's what I want, and he'll do it. You know. But it's all very last minute kind of.
Yeah.
Never plan ahead, really. I mean, the Ace of Hearts, I've planned ahead with that, and it's taken a long time to happen. Whereas if it wasn't planned, if it was impromptu, we probably could have just stuck it on there and then. Yeah.
I thought actually by the time we'd be filming this that it would be there.
So, it was supposed to be, but things happened.
Yeah. So there's only really this is a strange one, and it might be that you don't have an answer, but I see a lot on Patreon and stuff of you walking, and in videos from even years ago, of you walking through like forests and nature and stuff. Yeah. Do you have like a connection to nature? Do you enjoy nature, or is it just somewhere that you want to go?
I do. I do. I meditate. I'm a very kind of spiritual person. My own company is very important. I think when you're in a place like that, like the woods that I go to, that I'm very protective over, I think those places, the kind of thinking that you kind of force upon yourself from your environment, I think it's so important to when it comes to creativity, expressionalism itself, the influence that you get from an environment like that, from life itself. That's the way I see it when I'm in a place like that. It feels like you can't be much more present in a place like that. You get like a presence in somewhere like that you can't get at the card table or in your studio. Yeah, so I like the kind of, I like the connection to like life itself, like the universe people call it. Some people see it as religion, I just see it as a connection to life. So I keep myself grounded. You know, I'm often seen with just one shoe on, one sock, and I am barefoot a lot, even outdoors, and it's for that same, when I feel like I might be getting a bit carried away with the whole world around me and the playing cards, it's just a really good mental trick to keep yourself grounded, just to feel the ground on your foot. And also how uncomfortable it is to have one shoe on and one shoe off. It brings you into reality, it really does. Every step you take, you're forced to think about this moment right now. So yeah, being outside and being outdoors, and those moments are really, I've had so many special moments on my own in times like that, that I've got my GoPro and I want to capture it and remember it. Yeah. So that's usually why I do that, you know. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, or it's not a playing card trailer or anything like that. It just is what it is, you know. Yeah. A little bit of life. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a pleasure, honestly.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much.
Thanks so much.
For having me.
Cheers.
Cheers. So there we go, that was the interview with Daniel Madison. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was great to finally meet him and do this interview in person. It wasn't a Skype interview. Did we get you? Did we fool you? Maybe not, but anyway, it was a bit of fun. I obviously want to say a massive thank you to Daniel for arranging to do this video. It was a really interesting discussion on magic and we covered so many topics and it was a lot of fun. But I also want to say a thank you to Toby who helped to film this video. We got lots of angles, lots of cameras and the sound and everything. So yeah, there we go. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to click the thumbs up down below, and you can also subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. This is not the video style I normally go for. They're normally a bit shorter than this, but hopefully you enjoyed this longer style video. And actually, there are some more longer videos coming to the channel, some exciting projects on the way. So I look forward to those. Until then, I will see you in the next video.